Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got something today that I think is going to genuinely change how you look at that little search bar you use, 100 times a day.
Hmm.
We are standing on the edge of a pretty massive shift. You know how for the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, knowing something basically just meant being really good at Googling it.
The era of search engine foo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it well.
Right. We've been living in the era of basic search, keyword in, link out.
Pretty much.
But according to the stack of research we have on the desk today, that era is ending. We are moving into a new paradigm, something the sources are calling advanced reasoning.
It's a bold claim. But when you look at the material we have today, specifically this massive ebook, it feels less like hype and more like a necessary roadmap.
Right.
The sheer volume of data we produce it's outpaced our ability to find it.
So let's set the stage. We are looking at a source text titled RH 2.0, Advanced Reasoning for Private Data Analysis. It's a substantial 104-page guide published by StoryBuddies Play.
It's a hefty one.
And I have to say, before we even get into the text, just looking at the cover art, it sets a very specific tone.
It's striking, isn't it?
For those listening, I want you to visualize this. It's a futuristic cyborg head, sleek, metallic, staring right at you. But it's what's happening around the head that matters.
All those nodes.
Yeah, these glowing nodes of data charts, graphs, brain icons, and they are all physically interconnected with cables and light. It looks like a connected digital brain.
That image is actually a perfect visual metaphor for the topic.
How so?
Well, those nodes aren't just floating in a cloud, they are hardwired together. And that's the core mission of this deep dive. We are exploring how RAG 2.0, which stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation,
Right.
is transforming how organizations interact with their own data. We're moving from simple retrieval, finding the node, to complex synthesis.
Connecting the nodes.
Exactly, connecting the nodes.
Retrieval Augmented Generation. Let's pause there for a second. We hear RAG thrown around a lot in tech circles. For the uninitiated, can we strip the jargon? What are we actually talking about?
Sure. Let's break it down. In its simplest form, RAG is about giving an AI a textbook.
Okay.
If you ask a standard public AI model a question about your specific company policy or your personal financial records, it doesn't know the answer. Why? Because it wasn't trained on your private documents. It's never seen them.
Right. It only knows what was on the public internet when it was trained.
Exactly. So RAG is the process of fixing that. When you ask a question, the system first runs a search, that's the retrieval part, to find the relevant documents in your secure database.
Okay.
It grabs those specific pages, that's the textbook, and hands them to the AI along with your question. It effectively says, here's the context you need, now answer the user.
Okay, so that's the baseline. That's RAG 1.0. You find the document, you feed it to the bot.
And the bot summarizes it.
Right. But this guide is titled RAG 2.0 Unleashed. That word unleashed feels very deliberate to me. It implies that whatever we had before was, well, on a leash.
Restricted.
Yeah, restricted.
That's precisely the argument the text makes. If we look at the source, it draws a very sharp distinction between conventional search methods, or even early RAG, and what this RAG 2.0 offers.
Okay.
Think about how you use a standard database today. You type in a keyword, say Q3 revenue. The system matches that string of text to a document title or a paragraph.
Essentially a very fast librarian who brings you a stack of books and says, here, the word you asked for is on page 40.
Right. But does the librarian know what Q3 revenue means in the context of your business goals? No.
No, of course not.
It just knows the words match. The source material emphasizes that RAG 2.0 focuses on advanced reasoning capabilities. That is the phrase to pay attention to. Reasoning.
Reasoning.
It's described in the text as a paradigm shift.
That is a huge jump. Profound reasoning capabilities is the quote that stuck out to me. It sounds almost human.
It does.
Like, instead of the librarian just dropping a stack of books on your desk, the librarian has read the books, understood them, and can answer a specific question about how the concepts in book A relate to the charts in book B.
That is the sophisticated knowledge synthesis the author mentions. The system doesn't just parrot information, it synthesizes it.
It's not just repeating.
I know.
It takes the raw ingredients, your data, and cooks a meal rather than just handing you a grocery list.
I like the cooking analogy, but I want to play devil's advocate here. We've seen smart search before.
Oh, yeah.
Companies have been promising enterprise search that actually works for a decade, and it usually still sucks. What makes this different? Why is this 2.0?
The difference lies in the reasoning layer. In previous iterations, the system was very fragile. If you didn't use the exact right keywords, you got nothing.
Or worse.
Or even worse, the AI would hallucinate. It would make things up because it didn't quite understand the context of the documents it retrieved. It was just guessing.
And in a business setting, guessing is bad. Guessing is dangerous. The advanced reasoning this guide discusses is about the AI performing multi-step logic. It's checking its work.
Okay.
It's saying, okay, I found this document, but does it actually answer the user's question? If not, I need to look somewhere else. It's capable of a chain of thought.
So it's engaging in a dialogue with the data, not just a grab and go.
Exactly. It's moving from search to analysis.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's talk about the environment this lives in. The other half of this title is private data analysis.
Right.
And I feel like this is where the rubber meets the road for a lot of our listeners who work in corporations or healthcare or finance, anywhere that has secrets.
This is the critical problem the ebook addresses. The source specifically mentions the challenge of vast sensitive private data sets.
Because we've all seen the headlines. Companies banning their employees from using public AI tools. You don't want to paste your proprietary code or your quarterly financial secrets into a public chatbot to get a summary.
No way. Once it's in the cloud, who knows where it goes?
Right.
And context is everything here. Organizations are hoarders. They have massive amounts of proprietary information, emails, PDFs, Slack logs, old research papers. But that data is often dormant. It's what we call dark data.
Dark data, I've heard that term.
They can't easily feed it into these powerful public AI models because of privacy concerns, security risks. You absolutely cannot train a public model on your private trade secrets.
So how does RAGS 2.0 solve this? Does the source explain the fix?
It does. The text claims that RAG 2.0 allows for private data analysis while, and this is the key quote, maintaining data integrity and security.
How? Is it just running locally?
The guide alludes to the architecture. Essentially, you are bringing the brain to the data rather than sending the data out to the brain.
Okay.
In a RAG setup, your documents stay in your secure database. They are indexed, turned into numbers that the computer can read, but they don't leave your perimeter. The AI model comes in, looks at the relevant pieces temporarily to answer the question, and then forgets them.
It never trains on your data.
No.
That's a crucial distinction.
Yeah.
It's reading, not learning.
Exactly.
It's like a consultant who comes into the room, reads the file, gives you advice, and then shreds the file before leaving.
Correct. And the value proposition, according to the source, is that this dramatically enhances the utility of proprietary information. Think about that phrase, enhances the utility. Right now, most private data is just sitting there. It's useful for record keeping. Sure, if you get sued, you can find the email. But is it active? Is it helping you make decisions in real time?
Usually no.
Usually no. RAG 2.0 turns that dormant private data into active intelligence.
It's like waking up a sleeping giant. Or, going back to the cover art, it's like turning on the lights in that cyborg brain.
It really is. And this leads us to the mechanism of how it does that. The source talks about facilitating complex query processing.
Complex query processing. That sounds a bit technical. Let's translate that for the non-engineers listening.
Sure.
This goes back to the difference between a keyword search and a real question.
Right.
So-
Yes. Let's do a comparison. In a conventional search, or even RAG 1.0, you might type Q3 sales report.
Simple query. You get the document.
Simple query. But a complex query, which RG 2.0 enables, would be something like compare the Q3 sales performance against the Q2 marketing spend and identify which regions had the highest ROI despite the supply chain issues mentioned in the logistics logs.
Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to picture how a standard search engine deals with that. It would probably just panic.
They would panic.
It would give you the sales report, the marketing report, and the logistics log and say, good luck figuring it out.
Exactly. It dumps the puzzle pieces on the floor. RAG 2.0 puts the puzzle together. And that brings us back to that visual of the cyborg mind with the glowing nodes.
Right.
The source emphasizes knowledge discovery and synthesis.
Synthesis is the key word there. It's building the bridge between the nodes.
It is. In that complex example I just gave, the system is connecting the knots. It's taking a node from sales, a node from marketing, and a node from logistics. It sees that sales were down in the north, but marketing spend was up. Then it looks at logistics and sees a truck strike in the north. It synthesizes that causal link. Sales didn't drop because marketing failed. Sales dropped because the trucks couldn't get there.
That is doing the heavy lifting. That's actual analysis.
It is.
That is usually a human being's entire job for a week, figuring that out.
Precisely. And the source mentions extracting nuanced insights. That word nuanced is interesting. Usually we think of computers as binary black and white. Nuance is a very human trait.
Yeah, nuance implies reading between the lines.
But when you have a system that can look at the context across thousands of documents simultaneously, it can find patterns that a human might miss simply because we can't read that fast.
Right.
Nuanced insights means moving beyond surface level facts. It's not just sales went down. It's sales went down in this specific sector because of this specific external factor that was hidden in a footnote in a PDF somewhere else.
That is wild. It's basically having a super analyst who has memorized every document your company has ever produced.
And who is available 204/7. And crucially, doesn't have an ego or bias about which department is to blame.
Oh, that's a good point.
It just follows the data trail.
That's true. It doesn't care if marketing is mad at sales.
Yeah.
It just sees the numbers. Now, looking at the metadata for this ebook, I was surprised by the breadth of the categories listed. It's not just filed under computers.
No, and that's a crucial observation. If you think this is just for the IT department, you're missing the point.
So who's it for?
The ecosystem for this technology is vast. The source lists categories like business and economics information management, technology and engineering automation, security, and data science.
It's broad. It touches everything.
It shows that RE 2.0 is a business tool, not just a tech toy. Let's look at security.
Okay.
In a security context, this complex query capability is massive. You could ask, show me all login attempts from outside the country that occurred within 5 minutes of a file download. That's a reasoning task.
Wow, yeah.
It requires understanding time, geography, and action.
Or automation. That one caught my eye.
Right. Technology and engineering automation. This implies that ORAG 2.0 isn't just for answering questions for humans, it can trigger actions.
How so?
If the system synthesizes that a machine part is failing based on maintenance logs and sensor data, it could automatically order a replacement. It's reasoning about the state of the machine and taking the next logical step.
So whether you are in systems architecture or database management, both categories listed in the source, this shift impacts you. But even if you are just in management, this changes how you operate.
Because it changes how you make decisions.
This is the so what for the listener. Why should they care?
Precisely. The text explicitly mentions the goal is to make informed decisions.
That's it.
That is the ultimate goal of all this technology. It's not just cool tech for the sake of cool tech. It's about data intelligence. Better intelligence leads to better decisions.
Right.
If you can ask your data, what happens if we raise prices by 5%? And it can look at historical elasticity in your private data, you make a better choice.
So if you're a listener sitting there thinking, well, I don't work in AI, so this doesn't apply to me, you're probably wrong.
Probably.
If your job involves making decisions based on information, which is basically every job, this advanced reasoning is going to be part of your workflow.
Absolutely. The source frames it as empowering organizations. It's about taking the shackles off the data you already have. That's the unleashed part again.
I want to circle back to the private data aspect for a moment because there's a tension there. We want the AI to reason over everything so we get the best answers. But we also have things like HR records, salaries, or really sensitive legal matters.
Of course.
Does the guide touch on how you keep the AI from blabbing everyone's salary to the intern who asks a question?
That's a great question, and it falls under the security and information management categories, the source lists.
Okay.
While the guide focuses on the high-level reasoning, the implication of RAG is that it respects permissions. The retrieval part only retrieves documents you are allowed to see. So if the intern asks, what is the CEO's bonus? The system checks the intern's access level, sees they can't access the payroll folder, and simply says, I don't have that information.
So the reasoning is constrained by the user's clearance.
Exactly, which is actually safer than a human analyst who might accidentally gossip at the water cooler.
Good point.
The AI doesn't gossip.
You know, reading through this 104-page guide, or at least the core concepts of it, really does feel like looking at a map of the near future.
It does.
We're moving from a world where we had to hunt for information to a world where the information comes to us fully formed and analyzed.
It's the difference between hunting and gathering and having a personal chef.
I like that.
We are moving past the era of basic search, where you have to go out into the forest of data and find the berries.
Ugh.
RE 2.0 is the chef that takes what you have in the pantry, your private data, and cooks up the answer you actually need.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
But it also raises some big questions about the role of the human in the loop, doesn't it?
It does.
If the system is doing the reasoning and the synthesizing, what are we doing?
That is the question. The source focuses on empowering us, implying that we become the directors of this intelligence rather than the laborers searching through the files.
Okay.
We ask the complex questions, the machine does the complex processing, we move up the value chain.
We become the editors,
Yeah.
strategic thinkers.
Right, the AI provides the nuanced insight, but the human still has to decide what to do with that insight.
Right.
The AI might say, sales are down because of the truck strike, but the human has to decide, okay, do we hire a new shipping company or do we wait it out? That strategic judgment is still human.
That's a comforting thought. We still have a job.
For now.
We just have better tools to do it with.
Exactly.
So let's recap where we've been on this deep dive. We started with the premise that search is evolving. We looked at StoryBuddy's Play's ebook, RAG 2.0 Unleashed, which argues we are shifting from conventional retrieval to profound reasoning capabilities.
We discussed how this specifically targets private data, solving the massive headache of security and integrity that keeps enterprises from using public AI.
Unlocking the value in data they already have.
Right, that dormant value.
We talked about the power of complex query processing, moving beyond keywords to asking multi-part nuanced questions that require synthesis, not just fetching.
And we saw how this applies across business, security, and automation.
And we looked at the visual of the connected mind, representing how this technology connects the dots across the entire organization to drive data intelligence. It's a compelling vision.
It is.
It really does feel like we are upgrading the collective brain of our organizations.
We are. And the organizations that adopt this advanced reasoning first are going to have a massive advantage.
Why is that?
They will simply understand their own business better than their competitors do. They will see the trends in their data before anyone else does.
Which brings me to a thought I want to leave with our listeners. We've been talking about this technology, reasoning and synthesizing over private data. It's analyzing thousands of documents, finding connections we missed, and giving us nuanced insights.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. But think about this. If RAG 2.0 can digest and understand the entirety of a company's private database, every email, every report, every financial log, and it can reason about that data better and faster than any single human employee.
I see where you're going with this.
Are we approaching a point where the database understands the business better than the people running it? If the AI knows more about the structural health of the company than the CEO, who is actually in charge?
That is a very provocative thought. It turns the hierarchy upside down. The institutional memory is no longer in the people, it's in the system.
Something to chew on while you're typing into your search bar today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into RAG 2.0.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.